So I don't know about you, but this weather's a little bit shocking just because it's April and we've had such a taste of spring already, and temperatures aren't going to be going up much, especially across the Great Lakes into the Northeast with this broad northwest flow. It's a little cool across the south, but temperatures will warm up today, and across the west, it's the opposite. We're going to start to see this really warm pattern set up with temperatures really climbing into the deserts. We may see triple-digit heat while temperatures continue to stay in the plunge across the Northeast. It's going to get pretty hot out west, though, as we head toward Thursday and Friday. With numbers way above average here, temperatures setting back again across the east and the south as we head toward Friday, so not a lot of change. We're going to dive into all of the details and all the locations across the country today, so let's get to it first. Across the Northeast, we've got some snow going here. We've also got some rain and snow moving into the Pacific Northwest. This is going to be heavy into the Olympics, the Cascades. We're going to see several inches of snow here, also into parts of Utah, or I should say Idaho into Wyoming. Some of that tries to work south into Utah, but most of it north here into the northern Rockies, and then we keep that flow moving ashore here across the Pacific Northwest. Across the Northeast, cold air moving across the Great Lakes. We're going to see some lake effect snow. Tug Hill Plateau areas downwind of the lakes could see some snow accumulation, not a huge lake effect snow event. And then we're watching this next week's system that will swing through heading into Thursday. That's going to bring some light snow, I think, on the northern side of it to parts of Michigan, Pennsylvania, maybe even parts of New York, something that I think needs watched over the next couple of days. It's not a huge snowstorm, but certainly not feeling like spring for many areas, especially here into the Appalachians this morning where there's been some snow into the highest elevations. Not a lot of folks are seeing it, but there have been reports of some flakes, some snow showers flying into the highest elevations of West Virginia, Pennsylvania. There's that lake effect snow here into Pennsylvania, northeast Ohio, showing up on the NAM as we move into the late morning into the afternoon. Thunderstorms across Florida, otherwise relatively dry with a decent northwest flow. We're going to watch this week's system swing through as we head toward Wednesday. Most of that moisture will be north of here toward the Great Lakes, which we'll look at in just a moment. Across the southeast, these will be your highs today into the 60s and 70s. We've really seen a setback from the 80s and almost 90-degree temperatures. Some areas were in the 90s last week. 40s and 30s here across the Ohio Valley. North of the Ohio Valley, here into the Great Lakes, there's that low that's going to be swinging through as we move through today across parts of southern Ontario. It's going to bring some snow into Vermont, New Hampshire. A couple of inches possible here, especially into northern Maine, but otherwise back across the Great Lakes. Some lake effect starts to pick up here into parts of New York. It looks like it's going to be east of Rochester, but as our winds turn a little more westerly, we may see a little bit more towards places like Watertown. And then this week's system will bring some rain into parts of Indiana, Ohio, maybe a little bit of snow across the Ohio, Indiana, Michigan border here heading into Wednesday evening, Wednesday night, very close to rain. So don't expect a huge snow event out of this by any stretch, but nonetheless, cold enough that we're talking snow. And then this tries to wrap up and get a little more juiced here as we head into Pennsylvania. So here into the Northeast, this will be interesting once we head into later parts of the week, maybe Thursday into Friday. Cold temperatures, these will be your highs today, 20s and 30s. Lows tonight will be very cold, dropping back below freezing in many areas into the mid-20s. All right, further into the north and east, this is where we're going to get that heavier snow into parts of Maine today, tonight, into early Wednesday morning. It starts to wrap up some areas, especially here across northern parts of Maine. Could see some decent accumulation, and your temperatures really cold here on the way down. Highs today, barely getting above freezing in many of these areas. And there's a look at your snow accumulations. 2 to 4 inches. Some areas of Maine, especially Vermont, New Hampshire, could see closer to 6 to 8, maybe even a little bit more into the mountains. Quiet weather across the southern plains. Okay, so there's not a lot to talk about here. I'm going to let this roll. You wouldn't believe it's moving unless you looked at the timestamp above my head. A little bit of precipitation tries to move through parts of Missouri, also Iowa by the time we get into Wednesday morning, Wednesday evening, and this has gone pretty quickly. However, I'll tell you something here we need to watch once we get maybe into sometime Thursday, maybe a few strong storms here into Missouri. Nothing like what we've seen lately. Temperatures have been kicked back here as well, but your highs today will get up into the 70s in many of these areas. Lows tonight, not as cold as your neighbors to the east. Tomorrow, warmer, back into the 80s across Texas, even Oklahoma flirting with 80 here too. The northern plains up into North Dakota, South Dakota, into Minnesota. A few showers will work east of the mountains. They'll try to get east of the Rockies, but a lot of that energy and that moisture being squeezed out, so not a lot of precipitation here. Highs today, variable. 70s across Nebraska, even some 60s up here across western South Dakota. Go into the eastern parts of these states will be in the 30s and 40s. So that cold air trying to retreat, at least in this part of the country, across the southwest. Quiet here. Not a lot of rain expected. Will be warm too. Highs are going to really start to heat up, and you can see dry all the way through at least next Tuesday. Something starts to happen, though. We're still pretty far out. Looks like some type of upper low is trying to show up here heading into a week from now. A long way away here into California. Desert high temperatures, valleys pushing 100, I think, over the next couple of days. Today in the 90s, tonight only dropping back into the 60s, and tomorrow a good 3-4 degrees warmer, and that will continue even as we head into Thursday. And across the Pacific Northwest, again, with this onshore flow, we're going to see more rain, more snow here. It could be heavy into the mountains. This trend continues. However, it does start to warm up as we see everything start to lift more north into parts of British Columbia, at least the storm track. However, cold fronts will swing through, and that will happen as we head into Friday. This will mute our temperatures back a little bit across the Pacific Northwest with some more rain. And look, your snow level's dropping a little bit as we head into the weekend here across Idaho, also into Montana too. We're going to get some snow out of this. Here's a look at your high temperatures for today. That's a quick update. And if you're looking for a weather source, I hope you'll consider subscribing and coming back. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.